You know, there are roughly 2 million podcasts at your disposal that offer you over 78 million episodes to pick from. You have every opportunity to become educated without ever leaving your living room. But the goal of this podcast is quite the opposite. Not that you won't be educated, but that you will, in fact, leave your living room. You know, my desire is that you'll actually start something new, stop something old, or maybe just step into a difficult space that you've known for quite some time God was asking you to step into. Welcome to, or welcome back to The Road to Shalom, a podcast about the way things are supposed to be, why they're not, and a few thoughts and nudges about where you fit into both. I'm Fran Shaka, your host. You know, in mid-August, I took us off the road to Shalom and walked us into a bit of a kind of a rest area for some conversations with people I know and love. And for the past 3 episodes, we've had the privilege to go backstage into the lives of individuals who've made a vocation, a genuine calling out of restoring shalom in specific places where it's vanished, been vandalized, or just plain vacated for reasons unknown. We've heard how God in His grace has repurposed people's painful childhoods to become engines of compassion and mercy, how something as mundane as clean drinking water can counter sex trafficking. I know you've heard the joy in the voices of my last 3 guests as they've shared how they came to be who they are and how who they became was perfect for the role God had them to play in His grand redemption project. Well, shortly after The Road to Shalom first launched, I did my first and last interview until this past August, and that was nearly 3 years ago, 31 months to be exact. And it was with my dear friend, Dave Adkison, who also happens to be a world-class shoulder surgeon whose life and career was hijacked by the idea of being a shalom restorer in the operating room. Looking back on that episode, I realized it would be perfect fit into this series. So, spoiler alert here. If you've walked the full road of shalom, in other words, you've listened to all 40 episodes up until now, then you've likely heard this episode before. But, in my opinion, it's worth another listen because you're further along the road to shalom, and what you heard earlier on the journey will probably speak clearer and perhaps even a little louder. If you joined the journey sometime after March of 2019, well, beloved, you're in for a treat. In either case, let's sneak into the living room of Dave's home where the two of us are talking about shalom and how to restore it, specifically in the human body. Welcome to The Road to Shalom, Dave.
Thanks, Fran.
Man, this is so much. I'm so excited about this. We've talked about this for a long time. I'll tell you what, just for the benefit of those that are listening, how about if you maybe give the Cliff Notes version of kind of your past, particularly I think the things that brought you to the place where you are in Birmingham.
Sure, absolutely. It's really been a lot of fun. It's been a great road with a lot of twists and turns. I graduated from medical school in Mobile from South Alabama. I took a Navy scholarship because I was too poor to afford to go to medical school on my family's funds. So one day I got a letter from the Navy saying, "Congratulations, you're going to Bethesda, Maryland." To become a surgical intern. So I did. And when we left Mobile, headed for Bethesda. I fully planned to be a cardiac surgeon.
Wow.
I mean, I was going to be a heart surgeon and do all that wonderful stuff. But as a surgical intern at Bethesda, you had to do several rotations that had nothing to do with cardiac surgery. I remember one day I was in a primary care clinic, and this gentleman came in. I'll never forget this. He came in, his wife was dying. She had a sore shoulder. And he said, "Doc," he said, "this is our last trip together.
Oh, my gosh.
Can you help her get through this trip? And so that we can go play golf together down in Florida." And so I did. And that was my first inkling that maybe cardiac surgery wasn't necessarily where I needed to be. And then my next rotation was orthopedic surgery, which was a required rotation, and I absolutely fell in love with it. And I thought, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. And I had to eat a lot of Krogs. I told a good buddy of mine that his brain was too fine to waste on orthopedic surgery, so he's a neurosurgeon in Mayo Clinic now. So anyway, I went off, spent a year with the Marines, which you have to do when you're in the Navy. You have to go spend some time with the fleet. And we came back to Bethesda, and I trained there as an orthopedic surgeon, and then ended up doing a fellowship in Utah. And then we moved on to the West Coast. And I stayed there. We were in the San Francisco Bay Area where most of our children were born. Then I came back to Bethesda when that time was over, when the bases were all shut down, and I became the chairman of the department at Bethesda, which was an incredible experience. It was the healing pool at Bethesda from the Bible is a real thing. It was a very special place. We were the last stop on the train, and if we couldn't fix people, then they were stuck. And so it became this incredible experience working with the warriors, working with the wounded troops from all over the world, and also working with the leaders of the land. It was really kind of neat that we got to work. When one room would have a Supreme Court justice, the next one would have a Lance Corporal from Kansas. So it was a wonderful group of people to take care of. It was very, very diverse, but they were all hurt. They all wanted to know your opinion. They all wanted to know what the truth was. So it was a fabulous experience. And so then when I got to the end of my 20 years in the military, and I had to make a decision of whether to stay or not. And my daughter came to me one day when she was 12, and she said, "Daddy, can't we just live close to Grandma for a change?" And so I retired, and so we came to Birmingham. My parents are from Gunnersville, where my father's passed away since, but we're 70 miles away, so we could be close to help coordinate their care and to take care of things. And so that's how we ended up here.
Wow.
Cool.
Yeah. Gosh. So how many years have you been here in Birmingham?
I've been here just over 18 years, 18 and a half years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we got here about 5 years before you guys then.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like, yeah. I know a thing our listeners probably need to know just as a background is that Dave and I have breakfast together almost every Friday. And
highlight of the week.
Yeah, it is. We meet in urban Birmingham, and even there I've seen his touch on the servers there. We'll maybe get to that later in the show, but how did you, as we talked, one of the things that stands out to me is that you, as an orthopedic surgeon, your life seems to have gotten funneled more and more and more to the shoulder.
Yes.
And I guess I didn't know this story about that first surgery you did, but that to me is almost significant. That pivotal point in your life was fixing someone's shoulder.
It was.
Isn't that something? You look at that's what you've given your life to now.
Yeah, in retrospect, it's one of those hours that stands out.
Yeah.
And always will resonate inside your heart. I think the bottom line is that I can help fix people's bodies.
Yeah.
I can really help do something for somebody that's going to make their quality of life better. I may not be able to fix it perfectly, but I can sure make it better most of the time. And it's just a wonderful experience to take another person who's hurting, who's disabled, and to make them better. Oh, wonderful.
And you've had some incredible success and stories about that. I know one of the things you told me that Thursdays at your office are like a big party.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So share with the listeners why that is and what goes on at your office on Thursdays.
It's just like a celebration. The folks come in that are post-operatively from the last 10 or 15 days. Everybody's laughing. It's happy. People's shoulders are moving. Their pain is gone. It's still pretty sore, probably. The shoulder is a pretty sore joint to have fixed. But nonetheless, there's a celebration that seems to go on from 8 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's just a riot, and it's just laughing and people bringing cookies and it's just great. It is so much fun to go in there and do that. Every Thursday, I wake up with a sense of anticipation of the joy that's going to happen that day. Now,
part of that is something that probably we ought to bring out here is that part of that is because of a particular procedure that you've developed, and for doing total shoulders, replacing a total shoulder. And we got a non-medical audience out here, but just in a nutshell, Dave, explain kind of what is actually it is that's going on when you do a total shoulder, and particularly how is the method that you've developed different? Because I want to pursue that a little bit better afterwards.
Well, the first thing to understand about any joint is that only God makes articular cartilage. No matter what everybody else tells you with stem cells and all the other things, it's just you can't do it. Not yet. But nonetheless, so when the articular cartilage, that God's perfect sponge that lines all of your joints, when that wears out in the shoulder joint, it dominates your life. You can't lift your arm, you can't sleep, you can't hold your grandchildren, you can't do anything because the shoulder hurts 24 hours a day. So once you lost the articular cartilage, then we do shoulder replacement. After we try some conservative things like injections and therapy if we need to. But one of the problems is that when you put a shoulder replacement in the normal way, you worry that the approach is going to cause problems, and it does. A good friend of mine at Mayo
The approach is that's how you actually go in?
Right, the surgical incision and the way you get into the shoulder joint can actually cause problems. You go in from the front rotator cuff tendon has to be taken off for you to be able to get into the shoulder joint to replace it, then you sew it back down. Well, it turns out a lot of those don't heal right. And if they don't heal right, then the shoulder's going to fail. By far, around the world, the number one cause of total shoulders failing is that cuff ruptures.
Is the failure rate on that pretty high?
It's pretty high.
Yeah.
It's as high as 50%.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Good grief.
Scary. I mean, when the first time I saw that statistic, it made my hair stand on end. You're going, oh, my word, this is just wrong. So this is going to sound a little bit weird, but it sort of came to me in a dream one night of a different way to do this. And so I went to the laboratory, to cadaver laboratory, and I worked on a new technique. And what we do is I go in through a little small, less than 3-inch incision over the top, and we go in between the rotator cuff tendons so we don't take it apart. We don't take it down. There's a little gap right there where the biceps tendon comes out, and you can do the whole operation through that small hole. And when you do that, you don't have to worry about the cuff rupturing later on, and people can take their arm and move it the next day.
Are you serious?
I'm serious. It's crazy, incredible. So when you do this, you put it down, and I've had one guy the next morning who had come from another town. He's moving his arm around the day after surgery. He said, I think I'm going to be fine, Doc. I said, I think you're right. But he's moving his arm better than he was before surgery. And I've had people come in with essentially normal motion by 15 days that hadn't moved their shoulder in 10 years.
Oh, my God.
It's crazy. It's just, but the thing is, when you do it that way, you don't have to worry about the long-term consequences of having the rotator cuff rupture.
So what kind of success rate are you seeing with this?
Oh, my word. There's what's called a SANE score, which is basically it's a simple test. You ask somebody, okay, how on a scale of 0 to 100, how were you before surgery? The average is 25, 30, something like that. The average total shoulder gets an improvement of about 30 points from that. We're getting over 60. So I've got a lot of people who have come in and said, my shoulder's normal. I don't even think about it anymore, which is not total shoulder surgeon's reputation.
Well, I know, I've seen video that he showed me of a guy he looks like he's just throwing his shoulder all over the place. And
he is, and his wife says, make him stop. I said, no, I'm not going to make him stop. He could thread his belt for the first time in 7 years. And this is 15 days after surgery. So,
and how long does the procedure take?
About 45 minutes.
Oh, my goodness.
Maybe an hour, and a big guy.
Okay, now we're not going to go down this road.
Sorry about that, yeah.
No. What I'm about to say is that the thing that I know you don't want to go down this road, but I feel like I need to at least say it, is that this method that you developed is being picked up and is going to start being used on a much broader scale, and there's orthopedic doctors that are buying into this and seeing it as just a tremendous transformation of shoulder surgery. And I think the thing that you told me from the very beginning when you first told me about this, Dave, was the fact that you really believe God himself gave you this idea, that it was almost a spiritual, I don't want to use the word revelation because it's not scripture, but it was inspiration.
I completely give God all the credit for this. I mean, it came out of the blue. This is a non-obvious way to do the operation.
Yeah.
I mean, it is not obvious that you can do this. To say, okay, we're going to take the rotator interval, we're going to go through it, and we're going to do the whole operation that way. But ever since I did my first one, I haven't done another one the old way.
Yeah.
Not a single one.
Wow.
Every last one I thought I would be doing the wrong thing if I didn't keep doing this. Even if it's harder for me, it can be painful for me on Monday, but Thursday celebrations are worth every bit of it.
Yeah. And I think that's where we're kind of made a great circle around back. The thing that we started talking about was the celebrations on Thursday, and I think this goes back to the heart of this channel, and the thing that we're leading up to is that this idea of things being the way they're supposed to be. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the comments that you made to me and have made to me repeatedly is kind of how you see yourself in regard to shalom when you walk into a patient's room, and maybe spend a couple minutes just unpacking that.
As I've gotten older, I've rejected some of the teaching from medical school about not getting involved. Every person I walk into a room and to see and to talk to is an image bearer. Some people it's harder to see than others.
Yeah.
But everybody's an image bearer. There's a hurt human being in front of me
that bears God's image.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I can do something to help them. God has helped me with so many of the things that he's given me, the tools, the techniques, all these things that we have now. But I can look somebody in the eye and say, I can help you. And the ability to take somebody's misery away from them is a wonderful gift. No matter what it takes from me on a Monday, the Holy Spirit fills it back up the next night. I mean, it's fine. It's that you wake up in the next morning and you're ready to go again. It is just wonderful. It's an incredible thing. It's an incredible privilege to be a part of God's story, to say, okay, Dave, this is what I want you to do. And so I feel like I'm doing exactly what I was designed to do.
You're made for. Yeah,
this is what I was made for. And so to me, the ability to take somebody who's, no matter what kind of baggage there is to unpack, and to help them get better, to help them get back to where they want to be, it's everything.
And that's shalomic.
That's shalom.
Yeah.
And you helped me understand that.
Yeah, we've had that conversation.
We have had that conversation. One of the most important things that people need to understand, I think, is that of all the teaching I got in medical school, the one that focused me the most was one day when you told me, David, you're an agent of shalom. And that completely changed my perspective on the way I take care of people. Totally changed it, Fran.
Wow.
I mean, it was great. And so...
Well, let me ask you this. Do you feel like is that not the way most doctors look at? Well, I shouldn't say most. I don't want to be a sweeping generalization, but...
I think that the trend is not to be that way, to be more clinical, to be more calculating and a little detached to some degree. But man, they're missing it.
Yeah.
To be involved in my patients' lives and to be involved in their celebration is incredible. Yeah. It's a wonderful experience to help another human being get well, and to say, okay, that's behind me now. I can go do what I need to do. I can go raise cattle or whatever it is you want to do. Skydive. Had a guy, a big wave surfer. This is so cool. Big wave surfer from California, moved to Alabama, owns a lot of land in Costa Rica. And he said, I bought a paddleboard. I thought I was done. Replaced his shoulder. Saw him about 3 weeks ago. He's on his way to Costa Rica to surf the big waves. I mean, you think about that. Yeah. This guy has given up the thing that gave him the most pleasure in the world.
Yeah.
And so now he gets
it back.
He got his big board out.
Yeah.
He's had it. He told me he'd teach me to surf. Hope I don't die.
Yeah, I can't do your shoulder if anything goes wrong with it.
Well, I've got a great partner who can fix my shoulder if I mess it up.
Oh man!
But I mean that to me is one of the greatest joys that there is.
Yeah.
When somebody I can't lift my grandchild. I can't take care of my ill mother. I can't do all these other things that I've been called to do because my shoulder's bad.
Okay, let me ask you a heavy question. It's kind of theological, but it's also right at the heart of what we're talking about, because it has kind of, I've been on a few medical mission trips. And I'm not making, I don't want to be painting with a big brush on a small canvas here and throwing anything under the bus, but the ones I was on, I felt like the medical component of it was a kind of a big show at the front end to get people in the back tent to kind of go through this Evangicube or the four spiritual laws, and then at the end of the trip to be able to say that we shared the gospel with X number of people.
Yeah.
And as I've been studying the scriptures myself, you and I have been talking and understanding God's burden to restore shalom with himself, for sure. That Paul says we've been justified by faith, we have shalom with God, we have peace with God. And of course, that's the primary mission of Jesus. But then you also see him teaching and touching people all the time. And so I'm wondering what your thoughts are about, can you, just by restoring shalom in the sense of helping someone's body function the way God made it to function, I see that as bona fide ministry. Even if you never get to talk to a person about your own personal faith in the Lord. Ideally, maybe it's more difficult in a professional setting, I know that, but isn't it doing the work of God to be healing people?
I believe so. Jesus said, when you do these great things, to do them so that God gets the glory. Mm-hmm. And so I always give God credit for it. I don't ask people about being, their personal status, but I do always say this came from God, and that God has given us all these tools now to work with. Whether you're doing an arthroscopic rotator cuff repair or total shoulder replacement, I always say these have all been gifts from God. When I talk to the families post-operatively, I go upstairs and sit down and I say, God has given us the best tools now we've ever had. We can do things we could never even conceive of 20 years ago. And especially with the shoulder replacement techniques, that I see every bit of this as a gift from God. And I always want to make sure that people understand that that's the way I view it.
Yeah.
And so maybe at some point that will awaken something. I mean, we're here in the Bible Belt where everybody at least gives some degree of acknowledgement of that, whether it's lip service or whether it's real. But hopefully at some point it can sort of prick somebody's conscience to say this is truly from God. Yeah. And and I don't mean to say that I'm a gift from God, because, but every gift that I've been given is a gift, and to turn
it's
around.
Actually for other people, isn't it?
It is. It's for other people, just like the Apostle Paul said. The Apostle Paul said, "You've been given this gift to help other people. Go do it." And that's exactly. I mean, I've got this really cool gift that God gave me to turn around and help other people. Yeah. And to turn around, and then hopefully they will turn around and praise the Lord. Yeah. That's the key.
Yeah, and I think if people somehow are pointed towards God and come to see Him more clearly, see the Lord more clearly, I think that's what's really on His heart, you know. And I just think what I was getting at is I feel like sometimes when you start thinking in terms of restoring shalom, then all of a sudden, whatever that looks like, you know, whether it's digging a well and providing clean water in Nicaragua or whatever, that's the will of God. That's the desire of God. We don't always have to have an evangelistic component on it. I think sometimes it's kept us from working side by side with people. I mean, there are unbelievers that are doing shalomic restoration. Sure. You know, and they don't know it, and they might even deny it, but God's getting His work done. And I think sometimes, Dave, that I think Christians have a feeling that they can't really serve God vocationally just in their vocation, that somehow there's got to be this extra component that somehow I got to do a Bible study, I got to share the gospel, and I'm not throwing that under the bus. I'm not. I that's God wants us all to be thinking and moving in that direction, but fixing a shoulder, making a human body to function the way it's supposed to be, is the purpose of God. It's the will of God. It's what He's called you to do. I just think some folks need to be encouraged to hear that we're all part of this shalomic restoration program now.
Well, every time I'm inside a shoulder, it's an act of worship. To look and see what the Lord made. It's incredible. There's nothing in the universe like the human shoulder. Nothing that even approaches it. And so to be a part of helping a joint work that works all the time and is so critical to the way we live our lives it's an amazingly wonderful thing. But I think the proper perspective is that I tell my patients, I'm not Jesus. You know, if I were, you would be healed already, and this would be a done deal. You'd have your cartilage back, and you'd be perfect. But this is what He's given us to work with at this point in time, and it's an incredible honor to be a part of that. To be blessed by the Lord to be able to do this for people. It's like it's one of the. I can't imagine telling somebody how wonderful it is to be part of it. Yeah. It's just, I mean, every morning I wake up, I'm ready to go to work. Yeah,
I mean, that's the thing, and I can say this without any hesitation. That's the most obvious thing about you, that you literally feel called to do what you're doing. You get joy from it because you're doing what you were called to do, and that's where joy comes from. And you also see yourself cooperating with God, bringing wholeness into people's broken lives, you know, in a way that He's gifted and skilled you to do that no one else can do, or few people can do. You know, I'm a Bible teacher. That's what I do. I travel around, I teach the Bible. And so my contribution to the restoration of shalom is different than yours. But we are jointly cooperating with God to do the same thing.
We're parts of the body, just like Paul said. Yeah. Had I not known that what I was doing was shalomic, it would have changed my perspective on things. But the fact that you taught me that, and you helped me understand that setting things the way they're supposed to be, as well as I can, is really kind of what I'm supposed to be doing every day.
Yeah, and see that, I think there's as you're saying that, Dave, something comes to me, and I think it's maybe worth saying, is that I think because you've told me this, what happened to you isn't a change in your vocation. It was a change in your perspective, wasn't it? Yeah. So you saw yourself differently, which made seeing what you do each day differently
It made my calling more holy.
Yeah, there you go. Oh my gosh.
It
Yeah.
really did.
Yeah.
It made I mean, I've always thought this is a holy calling, to be able to take care of another human being. It's always been holy, but you really helped me see it for what it truly is, and that it is one of the highest callings for David Adkison I could ever could imagine. I never imagined that I would be able to do what I get to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is, but truly, it's other stuff. It's the other of holy. I think to say that God has given me this to help other human beings, and to turn around and reflect it to Him, not me.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want. I truly, I'm not looking for the credit. I'm looking to teach people how to do this so that it expands.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing now. We're
Yeah.
bringing people in to learn it, but the point being that is to make other human beings' lives better.
Let's jump in on that real quick, and then we'll maybe pull this together. But I think it's worth highlighting that this is going to have some global implications too.
Yeah.
I mean, you're involved in an orthopedic surgical and training center in Suzhou, China.
Correct.
And you and I have talked about that too. It's just that some of the burden you have about transforming the Chinese perspective on patient care.
Yeah. Well, there's nothing like the human touch. That's the first thing that a lot of people that I talk to, first, second, third opinions come in and say, the other doctor told me this, and I said, well, what did the exam show? They say, well, it never touched me. You go, oh, shame on them.
Yeah.
But the human touch is so much a part of the healing experience. To say that I can feel your crunch, I can feel the pop and catch, I can feel your shoulder instability. That is a very intimate thing to be able to do, and a very privileged thing to be able to do, to touch another human being's wounded joint, and to say, okay, I feel...
You're actually touching their pain, aren't you?
You're touching their pain.
Yeah.
Hopefully not causing more. But
Yeah.
sometimes I even do that, not on purpose. But again, I think one of the things that we can help the Chinese doctors with is to say, look, touch your patients.
Is that not real common there?
They're so busy.
Yeah.
They got so many people. They have plenty of doctors, but they don't have a tremendous number of shoulder surgeons. But the point being, those guys are just drinking out of a fire hose over there. 1.6 billion people in a system that is really it does a magnificent job of taking care of people as well as they can. But to truly gain a good perspective on what it is that you're trying to do, you really have to feel the shoulder. And so we hope to change that perspective for them, to say, look, slow down, take a few extra minutes, feel somebody's shoulder joint, listen to what they're telling you. There's an old saying that if you just keep your mouth shut, they'll tell you what's wrong with them. and the shoulder, which is true.
Yeah.
It's so true. But nonetheless, to change that hurry to sometimes the best way to go fast is to go slow. And that's to take your time and make your best decisions, and then you document that, and then you can move up to the next person as you need to. That, I think, is one of the best things that we can do to change folks. We're teaching them new techniques. They really are so busy with trauma and all the other big issues over there that they're really excited and thrilled to have us over there to teach them the advanced arthroscopic and arthroplasty techniques. It's a real privilege. I love the Chinese people.
So you're going to, that's to me is a cool part, is that you're going to be training them to be shalomic.
Yes.
Yeah,
whether they understand that
exactly, whether they get it or not. Yeah, and I think and I don't think it's cliche-ish at all to say you go through the Gospels and Jesus touches a lot of people. I mean, he's touching people all the time.
The lepers, he's touching people that nobody wanted to touch.
Exactly.
I don't think that I've done an exam of somebody or indicated to them for surgery without doing a thorough exam, just to feel where they hurt, and it's a big part of it, Fran.
Well, I think there's a bond and an intimacy that's created between a physician, I think, and a patient when there's touch going on. I get excited thinking about you over there training up the next generation of orthopedic surgeons in China, and I know they're going to start coming here now too, doing fellowships here.
Yes. And
rotating through some key surgical training centers in America. So two things, and we can close here, but I want to just reaffirm and encourage you about the fact that you're doing what God called you to do for a couple reasons. One is that it's how He's gifted you. And number two, you're doing exactly the same things that Jesus did when He was around people. He saw brokenness, particularly physical brokenness, and He did something about it. And you're doing that. And I think for the people that are listening, as we kind of bring this to a close, I just want to encourage you as well to understand this, is that God's plan for the fullness of time to unite all things in heaven and earth in Christ involves a restoration of things being the way they're supposed to be. The last book of the Bible ends with this city coming down, and the name of the city is Jerusalem.
Yes.
A vision of peace. And I think for us to see ourselves as agents of shalomic restoration, there isn't a day that can go by where each of us can't be a part of that in some capacity.
I could not agree more. No matter what you do, you have a chance to restore peace to somebody, to usher it in. And these droplets, like a rainstorm, these droplets of shalom all around us change things. Mm-hmm. It changes people's perspective. It changes the way they view other human beings. Mm-hmm. It changes so many things if we would just do it as Christians, to understand that our job is ambassadors for God, but also that as ambassadors, then we have His authority, and we are agents of shalom. Yeah. And it changes your perspective on the way to live. Yeah, it's wonderful.
And also, I think gives credibility to the gospel that we preach. If Christians are paying attention, they've got to realize that we've lost our place at the table. The world's not taking us seriously anymore, and I think part of it is because we've relegated ourselves to just sharing PowerPoint slide version of this gospel, as opposed to touching people and interacting with people and being part of the release of pain and sorrow and brokenness in their lives. You fix someone like you do, they talk about you. They pay attention to what you say. And I think as a believer, when we get involved with people's life with a vision of restoring shalom, emotional shalom, financial shalom, relational shalom, physical shalom, spiritual shalom, I think they start to pay attention. Well, Dave, thanks so much for taking time out of your schedule. This has been great, and we'll have breakfast on Friday.
Absolutely, sounds good.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, brother.
I sure hope that there was some truth that grabbed you as you listened to Dave share. And I gotta say this at the end, now that you've got this in the rearview mirror. This isn't just an interview with a guy that happens to be a world-class orthopedic surgeon. That wasn't the point. The point was for me to help you step into the life of a person who looks differently at what he gets up to do every day. Dave sees himself as an agent of God. He sees himself as part of the body of Christ, that his unique giftings and passions are given to him by God for the exact same purpose. There's a verse in Matthew 5:16 that says, "Blessed are the peacemakers," or "Blessed are the shalom makers, for they shall be called sons of God." And this was the only one of what we call the Beatitudes, the blesseds in Matthew 5, that makes a connection between being part of God's family. And then the one person put it this way, that restoring shalom is God's family business, and that you and I are all in that business. So whatever you do tomorrow, today, I want you to start thinking of yourself as an agent of shalomic restoration. The person at the convenience store where you get your gas, the person in the checkout line at the grocery store, the person in the cubicle next to you or the house next to you, or even in the pew next to you at church. God wants you and I daily to see ourselves as restoring shalom wherever it's needed. And that's the beauty. And first and foremost, I want to reiterate this, first and foremost, our calling is to restore shalom between people and God. But we also are called to restore shalom between people and ourselves, people and other people, and even, believe it or not, between us and the rest of God's creation. So, thank you for spending time with us. Thank you for letting me bring Dave into your world. And I pray that as a result of this little bit of time that we had together, that you'll look differently at what you do every single day. See you next time.